The Labour Court reserves judgment in Union NEHAWU's bid to appeal the interdict meant to stop its members from striking. The NEHAWU-led public strike show no sign of slowing down, and services were disrupted over the last few days, especially at the country's biggest hospitals. Our reporters continue to track that story for us, and eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu brings us the very latest. Good morning to you, colleague. And what can you tell us about this strike? Definitely hearing from the Minister, Dr. Joe Phaahla, also attributing a direct link to certain deaths, a number of deaths in our hospitals, to, of course, this protest.
Well, Tumelo, that was some of the arguments, of course, that we also heard here in court this morning from government, the Department of Public Services and Administration, which was the respondent in this particular case. Of course, what this case was all about, Tumelo, was about the effecting of the interdict that government had been granted by the court last week, Saturday. You recall, of course, that the Union NEHAWU has appealed this interdict, which essentially was meant to stop this strike from proceeding. And then on Monday, government had gone back to court to effect that interdict. And again, NEHAWU appealed that particular court order that was granted to government. And so the argument here in court today was, of course, that government wants that interdict to be effected. They're arguing that, first of all, the strike is illegal, and that, secondly, essential services have also been disrupted. They're not supposed to be part of a strike by law, and therefore this then makes it illegal for them to be part of the strike. But thirdly, the fact that there's been harm that has been caused to some of those patients that have been needing critical healthcare services. And so they believe that in its entirety the strike should be interdicted, and that that interdict should be effected. Of course, the court says that they will rule on this matter on Monday. But just to give you a glimpse of what NEHAWU is arguing, they're not in disagreement with the fact that essential services should not be on strike. However, they say that there cannot be a blanket, decision that says that even those that are non-essential workers should not strike. But let me get a reaction from NEHAWU. I've got Lwazi Nkolozi, who is the national spokesperson of NEHAWU, just to give us reaction to this. Lwazi, first of all, let's start here. What does this mean? The fact that this matter is now been reserved for Monday, does it mean that the strike continues, or does it stop now?
Good morning, Manqoba. Well, we note that the court has reserved judgment for Monday, and as such we will await that judgment for Monday. Over the course of the weekend, our leadership will be meeting to deliberate on the processes that are currently unfolding. And we are then going to call a press conference over the weekend on Sunday to actually pave a way forward as to what then do we do with regards to the developments that are unfolding pertaining the strike. That's what we are going to be doing as NEHAWU over the course of the weekend.
But what does this mean now for the strike? Does it mean that workers can legally still be on strike, or does it mean that you're going to call off this strike for now?
Look, the strike is still continuing. The judgment is reserved, so the strike is continuing. And as I say, that the leadership is going to be meeting over this weekend to deliberate on the developments that have occurred. One amongst those developments is the facilitation process that we are currently engaged in, and also the issues that the judge has actually indicated that we should address as speedily as possible as NEHAWU pertaining essential services. So those are the issues that we are going to be doing over this weekend, and also communicating broadly as possible the outcomes of those leadership meetings that we would have had as NEHAWU.
Okay, let's touch on that part, because I think it was one of the bone of contentions that was argued by government, the fact that it is illegal for essential workers to be part of the strike. Does it mean now that you as NEHAWU are going to be calling those essential workers to go back to work, the nurses that are not part of the strike, or is this something that you say you're still going to be discussing?
Look, the judge has advised to us. We are going to take that advice and we are going to follow that advice to the latter. And our legal team is actually working as to how then do we implement the advice of the judge. And as we were sitting in court, you could actually tell that there are things that the judge is saying that we should do immediately, and he has given us a time frame. And as such, we are going to follow them to the latter. And as NEHAWU, rest assured that whatever the judge had recommended that we ought to do to address the issue, we are going to be doing it immediately.
Okay, and then finally, Lwazi, in terms of the people that have died, of course, we heard the minister saying that there are 4 people that have died and it's directly linked to this particular strike. But of course, the question is, are you going to take any responsibility as a union?
Look, the minister indicated that there's a report, a preliminary report. We are yet to see that report as NEHAWU. We have not been given that report as NEHAWU. So we actually cannot be commenting on that at the moment up until we are finished with that report. And once we are finished with that report, we will then be able, with the advice of our legal guys, be able to respond accordingly to what the minister had been saying, amongst others, the issue of legal. So that's what we are going to be doing as NEHAWU. We are actually going to be advised once we are finished with the report. But at the moment, we cannot comment on a report that we have not actually seen that was stated by the minister yesterday.
Okay. Thank you, Lwazi, for your time. That was Lwazi Nkolozi, who is the national spokesperson of NEHAWU. Well, just clarifying what this all means now for the strike. Of course, it does continue, given the fact that that judgment has not been delivered. So it means that these workers are still going to go on the picket lines. But of course, the issue is essential workers, because according to the law, they're not supposed to be part of the strike. And that's something that NEHAWU says it will be addressing this weekend, and perhaps we would see those essential workers then, possibly being told to return to their posts. But I guess that will unfold over this weekend as those conversations continue between the union.
Well, thank you so much, colleague, for this update. We'll be sure to come back to you as soon as there are other developments.